You did what nobody expected. You pulled off a massive upgrade, and you did it fast. No one saw it coming. You went from being the one in the background, the quiet supporter, the emotional workhorse, to the one in charge. From servant to fucking boss in 2 seconds flat. This wasn't some slow evolution. It was a switch that flipped. And now, you're on a whole new level. If you're watching this right now, it's not random. It's because you're ready. Ready to stop playing small, stop waiting for permission, and start owning who the hell you really are. So, before we go any further, take a second to hit that like button, subscribe to help us hit 5,000 subscribers, and drop a comment below. Let us know you're locked in. That's that one action. It signals you're not just watching success happen, you're stepping into it. And trust me, what's coming next will make everyone who doubted you realize you were never the underdog. You were just loading. For the longest time, you believed you were shattered, left in pieces by the weight of expectations and disappointments. But the truth is, you weren't broken. You were silently gathering strength. Like a battery, slowly filling up. Every moment of hardship, every tear shed in silence, was fueling a quiet power inside you. You just didn't realize it yet. It's often in our most vulnerable moments that we start building the foundations for our greatest comebacks. Think of it like a storm brewing behind calm skies. People mistook your silence for weakness, but in reality, you were preparing to rise. You were recharging your spirit and emotions, so when you finally emerged, you would be unstoppable. This wasn't about falling apart. It was about transforming, evolving into a stronger, wiser version of yourself. Every bruise was a badge, every heartbreak a lesson etched into your soul. Now, look at yourself. You're no longer running on empty or waiting for someone else to fill your tank. You're fully powered, running on your own energy, your own purpose, your own passion. That quiet strength you thought was hidden was always there. And now, it's roaring louder than ever. You aren't just surviving anymore. You're thriving on your own terms, and that's the most beautiful kind of power. There was a time when you felt compelled to justify your feelings, your actions, your very existence to people who never truly cared to understand. You chased explanations, hoping that if you spoke enough, they would see your worth. But the harsh truth was that their silence wasn't because they didn't hear you. It was because they didn't value you. That moment, when you finally stopped explaining, was the moment you reclaimed your dignity. Imagine the freedom in no longer answering the endless questions, no longer begging for recognition from those who refused to give it. When you stopped chasing their approval, you started chasing your own happiness instead. That silence wasn't emptiness. It was a powerful act of self-respect. You became the person who speaks only when necessary, who doesn't waste words on the unworthy. In that stillness, you discovered a new kind of glory, one born from self-love and quiet confidence. You shifted from being a background character in their story to the lead in your own narrative. And the best part? That transformation didn't happen overnight. But once it did, it became irreversible. You went from ghosted to glorious, shining brighter without needing to explain why. People assumed you were fragile, easily broken, and predictable. But what they didn't realize was that beneath your calm exterior, a tempest was gathering. You were the storm they never anticipated, silent yet fiercely unstoppable. While they underestimated your strength, you were quietly preparing to shake the very foundations of their expectations. Being underestimated is a secret weapon. It allows you to move unnoticed, to strategize without interference. They never saw the fire burning inside you because you kept it hidden, waiting for the perfect moment to ignite. And when you finally did, it wasn't loud chaos, but a powerful, controlled force that swept through everything, leaving nothing the same as before. You became a storm, not just to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. That silence was your armor and your weapon. They were blind to your potential because they only saw what was on the surface, but you knew better. Your strength was in the depths, and now it's reshaping your entire world. Pain is often seen as a weakness, but in your story, it was the foundation of your empire. Every wound, every betrayal, every disappointment was raw material, not to break you, but to build you. Instead of letting pain consume you, you transformed it into fuel. What could have destroyed you instead became the blueprint for your success. Think about the great leaders, artists, and visionaries. Many of them have risen from the ashes of pain, turning their struggles into their greatest strengths. You took those moments that made you question your worth and flipped the script. You refused to be a victim and chose to be a warrior, crafting an empire rooted in resilience and self-belief. Your pain gave you clarity, focus, and a deeper understanding of yourself. It pushed you to work harder, dream bigger, and demand more from life. Now, what once threatened to break you has become the cornerstone of your power. An empire built not on luck, but on the scars that shaped you. It would have been easy to drown in bitterness, to let anger and resentment consume your heart. But you chose a different path. Instead of letting bitterness define you, you used it as a catalyst for growth. You didn't let the darkness take over. You chose to step into the light, stronger, smarter, and more determined than ever. Bossing up isn't just about power or status. It's about maturity and wisdom. It's about understanding that your value isn't determined by those who doubted you, but by the belief you have in yourself. You invested your energy in becoming better, not bitter. You focused on your goals, your dreams, and your peace, leaving the toxicity behind. This kind of growth is rare and beautiful. It requires patience, self-awareness, and a refusal to settle for less. You leveled up emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You became the boss not just of your career or finances, but of your heart and mind, the true throne of power. Loyalty is sacred, and you gave yours freely to those who didn't deserve it. You stood by them when no one else would, trusted when others doubted, and loved when love wasn't reciprocated. But the moment you stopped giving your loyalty away like it was a charity, everything changed. Now the tables have turned. The very people who took you for granted are the ones knocking at your door, begging for a seat at your table. They realize too late what they lost: the unwavering support of someone who was always there when it mattered. Your loyalty wasn't a weakness, it was your strength. And now, that strength is a scarce commodity they crave. This reversal isn't about revenge, but about respect. You made it clear that loyalty must be earned, not demanded. And when you became selective with your trust, you elevated your own worth. The game has changed, and now you're the one holding the cards. Silence is often misunderstood as a sign of weakness, but in your journey, it was the prelude to transformation. When you stopped speaking, you weren't giving up. You were strategizing. That quiet moment was the calm before the storm, the pause before your powerful comeback. Think about the power in choosing when and how to respond. By stepping back, you created space to heal, reflect, and plot your next move. Silence became your sanctuary, a place where you reconnected with your inner voice, free from distractions and chaos. It was a deliberate choice to conserve your energy for what truly matters. This switch from being the person who always answered to the person who chooses when to engage marks a profound shift in control. You took back your narrative, your power, and your peace. Silence became your strength, your weapon, and your rebirth. For so long, you held everyone's world together, their problems, their emotions, their crises. You were the steady force amidst their storms, the one who never faltered. But in doing so, you lost sight of yourself. You became the backbone of their chaos, carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. But then something remarkable happened. You realized your own worth and decided to walk away. You chose yourself over their drama, your peace over their turmoil. That decision was revolutionary. It was a declaration that you refused to be anyone's crutch anymore. You weren't built to be a doormat. You were made to be a queen. Walking away didn't mean giving up. It meant setting boundaries. It meant reclaiming your energy and protecting your heart. It was the bravest thing you ever did. And in doing so, you showed the world that your strength isn't measured by how much you endure, but by how fiercely you protect your peace. Closure is often seen as a necessary step for healing, but it's not something you owe to those who hurt you. You gave your all to people who walked away without a second thought, leaving scars that seemed impossible to heal. But the truth is, their absence is the closure you needed. You don't need their apology, their explanation, or their goodbye to move on. Sometimes the best closure comes from within, from forgiving yourself for investing in the wrong people and choosing to release the pain on your own terms. holding on to the hope of closure from them only keeps you trapped in their story. Your healing is yours alone. You are not obligated to wait for people who don't value you to make amends. You're powerful enough to create your own peace and turn the page. Letting go without answers isn't weakness. It's courage, resilience, and self-love in its purest form. When you stopped responding, stopped reacting, and stopped engaging with those who drained you, something shifted. That silence spoke louder than any words could. The people who once held power over you suddenly found themselves powerless, confused, frustrated, and desperate for a reaction that would never come. Your quiet was a statement, a boundary that couldn't be crossed, a line that wouldn't be blurred. It was a refusal to be manipulated, ignored, or taken for granted. You reclaimed your voice by choosing when not to use it, proving that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all. This wasn't about making them suffer. It was about protecting yourself. The day you went quiet was the day you took your power back. And that power, it's yours to keep, unshaken and unbreakable. There was a time when you were the one always reaching out, always initiating, always hoping for connection. But then you stopped. You stopped texting first, stopped calling, stopped putting your energy into one-sided relationships. And suddenly, the dynamic flipped. When you withdrew, they began to notice. They started questioning, doubting, maybe even regretting. Your absence created a vacuum that revealed how much you really mattered or didn't. The silence you left behind made them realize that your presence wasn't something to take for granted. This shift is more than just a change in who makes the first move. It's a declaration of self-worth. You taught them that you're not a backup plan or an option. You're a priority. And when you decide not to chase, the true value of your presence shines through like never before. Chasing is exhausting. It drains your soul and leaves you questioning your value. But now, you've stepped into a new realm, one where you don't need to run after anyone or anything. Instead, you attract opportunities, respect, and love effortlessly because your energy radiates confidence and self-assurance. This is what boss energy looks like. Knowing your worth so deeply that you don't settle for less, standing firm in your power, and letting the right people and things come to you naturally. You've shifted from being a pursuer to a magnet, drawing in what aligns with your highest good. That attraction isn't magic. It's the result of hard work, healing, and self-belief. When you stop chasing and start attracting, you step into a life of abundance, peace, and fulfillment. That's the power of becoming the boss of your own story. The wounds they left behind could have been your downfall, but you refused to let them win. Instead, you transformed that pain into your throne, a seat of power that no one else can claim. What once made you feel small now elevates you. making you untouchable and dignified. Every scar is a testament to your resilience, every heartbreak a reminder of your strength. You took the very things meant to break you and rebuilt yourself higher and stronger. That throne you sit on isn't just about success. It's about survival, growth, and ultimate triumph. Now they look at you and see what they lost, a force that cannot be tamed or diminished. You turned your pain into royalty, and that's a power that no one can ever take away. You used to be the quiet presence, the one behind the scenes, the unsung hero in everyone's story. But no more. You stepped out of the shadows and into the spotlight. You claimed your space, your voice, and your power. And suddenly, you're the headline everyone's talking about. This transformation is magnetic. People are drawn to your energy, your confidence, and your unapologetic authenticity. You're no longer a supporting character. You're the main event. Your story is compelling, your journey inspiring, and your presence unforgettable. Being in the headline isn't about fame or attention. It's about owning who you are and shining unapologetically. You showed the world that your story matters, and now everyone wants to read it. Some people call it a comeback, but you know better. This isn't about returning to where you were. It's about becoming something entirely new and legendary. You've risen from the ashes, not to reclaim old ground, but to conquer new territories. Legends aren't born from comfort or ease. They're forged in fire and resilience. Your journey is a testament to that. Every struggle you faced, every obstacle you overcame has made you immortal in your own right. This is the birth of your legacy, the moment your story transcends pain and becomes timeless inspiration. So stand tall, because this isn't just your moment. It's your legend in the making. And the world better be ready. There's a unique kind of power in silence, not the absence of sound, but the presence of unwavering strength. You carried your battles quietly, never boasting or complaining, but while others fought loud and messy, you mastered the art of steady endurance. The world may have missed it, but you knew the storm was building within. Being a silent warrior means showing up even when you feel unseen. It's about facing your struggles head-on without needing applause. You endured heartbreaks, disappointments, and betrayals, yet you never lost sight of your own value. That quiet determination set you apart and created a foundation of inner strength no one could shake. In silence, you sharpened your mind and hardened your heart against toxicity. You learned to listen to your own intuition, to trust yourself above all else. That silent fight wasn't just about surviving. It was about preparing for a powerful comeback that would leave everyone speechless. When the time came, your quiet strength spoke louder than words ever could. You became proof that strength isn't always visible or loud. Sometimes it's the softest voice, the calmest presence, and the unbreakable spirit beneath the surface. That's the kind of warrior you are. Unstoppable, unshakable, and forever rising. And now, the game has changed forever because you're no longer playing by anyone else's rules. Invisible chains are the hardest to break because you can't see what holds you down. You were tied up by expectations, toxic relationships, and self-doubt. A prison built not by walls, but by fears and limiting beliefs. For years, you carried these burdens without knowing how much weight you were dragging through life. But the day you decided to break free was revolutionary. It wasn't a sudden explosion, but a series of small, courageous steps towards reclaiming your freedom. You began questioning who you were trying to please, which battles were truly yours, and what it meant to live authentically. The chains that once held you tightened with every doubt, until you chose to cut them loose. Freedom didn't come without pain. There was guilt for walking away, fear of the unknown, and moments when the old chains almost pulled you back. But you kept moving forward, fueled by a deep longing to live on your own terms. You learned that liberation isn't just physical, it's mental, emotional, and spiritual. Now, you breathe easier. You live lighter. Your steps are bolder because you carry no more invisible weight. The journey to self-liberation wasn't easy, but it was worth every tear and every battle. You're finally free, free to be, to grow, and to become the person you were always meant to be.